Now, over your time with all these radio stations, you've coached some big voices in broadcasting. Would you be able to name any of them and
Well,
share any experiences, or anyone specifically if someone was stuck in some kind of a learning mode and then applying your technique or your support, their behavior and results have changed?
yeah, I mean, the thing you often find yourself working on, and we did this a bit with the shows I worked on at Radio 1 and with the breakfast shows, particularly on Heart and Capital Radio, is just like a podcast. And this is where I mess up everything I'm actually, demonstrating. But you can waffle, you can go off point, and a lot of those radio shows that you were trying to get them to recognise that just because they thought each other were funny doesn't mean the audience are enjoying it. And when you're
I
dealing
do
with,
share this sometimes. It's like, what are they laughing at?
yeah, and you just, I would just say, okay, guys, that's, and because they're in it and they probably just broadcast it with live radio, so you're coming out of the show and then you're having a debrief, they're very defensive about it because it's their creative work, and also it's personal because you're criticising them because it's the way their personality is coming across. So it's a really difficult thing to deal with, actually, is just this waffle and this sort of over laughing thing that you hear quite a lot on.
Actually, I suppose radio and podcasting is very different, because radio is just something that's on. People put it on and they know that it's just going to continue. While with podcasting, especially like a producer like myself, I've learned over time that people just simply don't have the attention span to listen to a program for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
And consequently, I actually took that on board and reduced the episode lengths to half an hour, because it's a lot more palatable for listeners.
Yeah, I mean, some of these really big American podcasts have gone off with 2-hour, 3-hour episodes. And I just think, hang on, well, you have to answer the question, you have to go, what's your target audience? So we would start with the Heart Breakfast Show, and we literally would take a film crew into someone's house at breakfast time, and we would film what's going on, and we would play it back to the presenters, the Heart Breakfast Show presenters, just to go, this is your audience, look at what they're doing. Mum's baking toast, the kids are getting dressed, Johnny's lost a shoe, Dad's overslept.
And it's just like noise in the background.
Absolutely.
And then occasionally your ears
occasionally
might pick
that's something that, and this is, triggers. So, I mean, this is technique of hosting, but yes, you'll say something that, that will prick up in someone's ear, and then they'll get the attention, but only for a few seconds. So all the little nuanced bits of humor and, the long stories, the audience in that environment are getting, but it depends what your podcast is, because I imagine people listening to this, maybe they're going for a run, maybe, they're a bit more one-to-one.
But it's supposed to be a lot more educational, where people can learn how to better their lives when they are in business, to make sure that what they produce is of better quality, like in terms of their business. And then, of course, routine is revenue. So the revenue, it shows on your bottom line when you are, as a person, as the leader of your business.
Yeah.
You elevate your own status by looking after all areas of your health. And here, just to sort of anchor it a little bit, the application loop comes under intellectual health.
Yes.
Because you just need to be aware of what you're learning, what you're letting in, what affects your thoughts, and that will affect your emotions and so on. So go on. Can you name anyone who was your best customer when you were at radio, who applied your teachings?
I was we created a show in Bristol. Two shows. We created a breakfast show in Cardiff for Capital Radio called Matt, Polly and Geraint, and we created a show in Bristol called Bush, Troy and Paulina. So they were just the crew that would wake you up, like a crew style show. Like Paulina, for instance, was not from any sort of broadcast background, just like, this is what I say to podcasters. You think people on, network radio or television, but they started somewhere. Yeah. And she just got on really well with the two male presenters that I had. We went out for a meal one night, and we would all be just bouncing off each other. The producer, myself, the three presenters, and you just go, this is going to work. So we took her off the, whatever she was doing, and we stuck her on the breakfast show prime slot, and she worked really hard at what she did. So one thing I get, sorry, I can waffle on like this all day, so shut up. But if you want examples, just this thing about capturing what you see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. So she would carry a little book around her with her just to capture reactions, just to capture, if she was reading up on someone they're going to interview, she'd just underline and highlight things, and they'd be her own unique reactions, not things she thought she ought to say. And she just really brought her personality, really, really brilliantly into the show. And for someone who, has come from a non-broadcast background, I actually think Anthony Scaramucci does it very well, very well. I think, he's a big show off, which helps. But you want the best hosts have got big ego. So
Well, I suppose, yeah.
you have, to
It
do
kind of
this.
works, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it does. Which he has. But yeah, he's come from his arena of finance and American politics, and he's, I really, really rate him as a presenter. Yeah.